Hello, and Zizaran here with another episode of Path of Exile University, this time featuring a advanced lecture on racing and how to practice from Professor Havoc. Let's see.
Thank you, Ziz.
So welcome everybody. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to be seeing in this lecture.
Okay, so as you guys can see on the screen, it says how to practice 616. So it's going to be in 3 sections. I'm going to talk about essentially foundational knowledge. And the idea here is I can give you basically like Lego pieces, because everyone likes Lego, right? And then you can take this and essentially beat any challenge. After that, I'll like slightly talk about some short races. And then with uses, I'd like to do a live example for your Maven event coming up.
Oh,
So I think that's the best way to learn, right? Just via doing, right? Because I can say a bunch of stuff, but it's not really going to stick unless we do. And that's what I believe.
nice. Just let me know when you want me to click through slides and I shall do so.
Okay, you can go to the next slide then.
Here we are.
If you're watching this, you most likely, you want to get good, you want to get better, you want to like do really good in maybe the Havoc Blitz, upcoming in the future, maybe the Zizaran Gauntlets events or the Zizaran League Start events or something. You want to improve. Maybe you want to have better league starts, right? You want to be the first guy to get into maps, right? Because see, you want to gain value, right? You're trying to gain value yourself. You want to be the first guy to get the maps. You want to be the first person to drop shavs and like flip them on the market. You want to flip exalts. Maybe that's you, right? So if you go to the next slide, these are the things I'm hoping to essentially give to you guys right now. So the questions I hope to answer are, where do I start? How do I make a plan? What are the best practices? So I won't necessarily be like directly answering these questions, but the key theme I have for this lecture is I tried to condense it down as much as possible instead of like essentially, giving you guys the fish going like, hey, you should do this, you should practice this. I didn't feel like that was the right way to go because Path of Exile, like 2 years from now, or any game, like, in the future, it might change, it might be different, right? And what I say today might not make sense, right? But if I give you the building blocks, the Lego pieces, then maybe you can build something new, make a new plan, a new strategy in the future. And I talk about that a little bit more in the next slide, actually. I think I might have mentioned the next slide if you go on further. Yep. So yeah, I'm trying to give you guys foundational knowledge, so essentially teach you how to fish. And more so, make your own fishing rod, make your own bait, make your own hook, where do you find the fishing spots? Stuff like that, right? So that's kind of what we're talking about. So before we begin, I have a group activity. If you go to the next slide, Ziz, I'm gonna need, let me know when you're there, but
I'm standing already, actually.
Okay, well, I need everyone to stand up, and then that includes everyone in chat as well. Everyone in chat. I want everyone to dance or move as if you were alone. And I'm watching the streams, Ziz. I'm watching you right now.
Wait, dance or move as if you were alone?
Yes. And if it's too crazy, then you can tone it down if you want.
Okay, I have to take off my headset though.
Okay, sure. I'll be watching.
When I'm done. As
okay.
If I was alone.
I'll give you a thumbs up or something. Okay, that's not what I was expecting.
I play air guitar when I'm alone.
Nice. That's not what I was expecting, but dude, that was good, dude.
Helena's walked in on me a few times when I do that.
That's awesome. So we can go to the next slide, and you can either mentally note this or write this down. But like, how do you feel? Do you feel better?
I feel good.
Do you feel worse? Feel good. Yeah. So that's good. That's really good. And I'm gonna talk about a little bit about like why you feel good. So we can go to the slide after that as well, and it has a very nice picture.
Just write it down. Do you feel better or worse? Why? Okay. Oh, you are a system.
So, it's supposed to be you are a system. Apparently I didn't proofread. It's my bad, guys. But you are a system, right? Not a picture of a robot. So yeah, everyone in chat, you are technically organic AI. You are organic artificial intelligence. In a way, we are all robots, right? We have our brain, which is essentially like the house for our code, right? And then we have like, our tools, our moving parts, our body, right? So just think about that. So let's move on. And I'm going to be talking about essentially Havoc616.exe, right? So a lot of the stuff here, this is what works for me. And your system may be different than mine, right? Maybe you just function differently. Your code is different from mine. And that's okay, dude. Because guess what? We're all built different, dude. Everyone works in different ways. Everyone has their own habits. Everyone has like different ways they like to do things that make them feel good. And at the end of the day, for a lot of things I say, you kind of just want to feel good while you're doing it. It's pretty important. And you just kind of want to just like stay fresh, mentally and physically. Which leads me down to the next slide, actually. So you are a system, and the two systems I'll be kind of briefly covering here are essentially there are physical systems and there are mental systems, which again, as I mentioned, is the coding, right? So coding, you can think of that as like how you think, and I highly recommend everyone when they have time to just think about how you think. That sounds kind of meta, but like you can like really optimize your life this way, like straight up, dude. If I was a life coach, I'd be like, yo, you got to think how you think. But this is a PoE lesson, but even PoE, you need to think how you think. An example would be, let's say I'm doing a short race. I'm doing, let's say, an Act 5 Katava speed run. So Act 1, Act 2, I don't really need to care about my resist too much. So I don't really think about my resist. But I know in Act 3, I need a lot of fire resist by the time I get to Lunara's Temple level 2, or else I'm going to get destroyed by the Tentacle Miscreations in there. You need like almost 75 or like a lot of life, or you just need to like do the Matrix, not get hit, right? So I will think, like before I do the run, I'm going to say, okay, around this time, I'm going to start thinking about getting my fire resist. So maybe that's like City of Sarn. Maybe it's near the end of Act 2. Okay, so maybe that means so what does that actually mean? Maybe it means I check Clarissa or I check Yina for ruby rings, stuff like that. Maybe I get an iron ring plus a red gem. So stuff like that, right? So we can move on. I think that explains that really well. So a solid system that has strong foundations and optimized coding. So strong foundations, that essentially means like your tools, right? Your hands, your body, your physical systems, the outside and the inside. You want to be healthy inside as well, right? So you don't want to be inflamed. And this is kind of, not everyone will agree with this, but there's a lot of stuff you can do. And this honestly could be like a whole like 7-hour lecture, 3-hour lecture here just about this, but just summarize this. Try to be healthy, guys. I recommend it. If you want to be a really good pupil, you want to be the best of the best, I do recommend trying to be healthy. But I'm sure everyone knows that. And the hard part there is just building habits, I'd say. The hardest part for most people is just getting started. And if you can get started and try to get a little bit better every day, like even just like keep a more than zero mindset, right? You can achieve like anything, like straight up. Like honestly, you just try to do like one thing. Okay, I stood up for 5 minutes, some stand up for 5 minutes, 10 seconds tomorrow. Like maybe not the best example, but the best I could come up with on the spot, dude. You know what I'm saying, dude? So just to try to be a little bit better tomorrow, every day. Anyways, optimized coding. We already mentioned that, so that's good. That's good. Again, that's just thinking about how to think and just optimizing your thinking flow, optimizing your code. Anyways, let's go. Again, I'm not going to mention or go over too many details here in this next slide, but I actually did this on purpose. The key thing I want you guys to notice here is for physical and mental, it's the exact same things. It's exercise, diet, sleep, stress management. And there's only a couple of categories, right? There's probably a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot more categories, but the key thing here is both physical and mental. They're kind of connected, right? Like if you're physically injured, like you broke your arm or something, it's not gonna feel so good, right? Maybe your wrists hurt from playing a lot, right? A lot of gamers get this problem with their wrists hurt, right? Highly recommend you guys, train your forearms or just find something that works for you. So I'm not gonna go over all this stuff too much. I think most of you guys know this, right? It's just getting started. Yeah, I see Zizaran stretching his hands right now. Yeah, highly recommend it, right? Sometimes you can have a habit, right? Just like move my hands around, stretch them out, shake them out, like do whatever you need to do, man. Whatever you need to do, man. Like just do it. You are you. Just to figure it out. Anyways,
I'm feeling inspired.
Hell yeah, dude. That's what I wanted to do. Let's go. I'm getting hyped. You're getting hyped. I'm getting hyped. Reciprocal energy. Let's do it. All right. Let's go to the next slide. And again, it's a nice little chart from James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. So you are your habits. So I'm going to talk about goals later on, but goals are cool, but you are your habits, right? And this is what I mean by trying to be 1% better every day. If you try to just be 1% better every day for a whole year, whatever this unit is, you go from 1, like your baseline, to 37.78. Pretty good, dude. That's like almost 38 times better than where you started. That's pretty crazy. That's insane, right? And then, if you got 1% worse every day, that's also compounding, right? So you want to try to make compounding habits, things you can build on, iterate on every day. And I would like to note, let's say, you have been negatively compounding for a while, right? I would like to note it's not really that much lower than your baseline, right? The number's kind of low, but you can always like resurge back up quickly. Newbie gains are a thing in terms of PoE skill, in terms of like real life. The first like 50-80% is super easy to get in like almost anything, right? So
Nice.
no matter where you are right now, you can always start today. You can start whenever you want. I like today though, and yeah, just get started, get good. Anyways, let's move on though. Enough about that stuff. So you want to do the impossible. What is your impossible? What's something impossible you want to do, Ziz?
Oh, I don't know. Make the best events possible.
Okay, sure, why not? I want to say that's impossible because you're kind of already doing it.
Thank you.
But anyways, so here's my 4-step process. 4-step process, you can do it. First, number 1, pick a goal. That's easy, pick a goal. So Ziz wants to make the best events possible. Number 2, break it down. All right, Ziz, how are you going to make your best event possible? What are you going to do? How you break it down for me?
Sure. Okay. So I'm trying to like not scale up too fast. There's been other games like, for example, Painkiller, where they were just doing $1 million tournaments and the game ended up dying because they couldn't end up topping the tournaments. So just slowly scale it up over time, increase interest, stay relevant for PoE 2, and then go hard when like forage while the iron is hot, which will be PoE 2. That's the plan.
It makes sense. Makes sense. So you see, you have like the overarching breakdown of it, like the long term, and then there's also like going to be a short term breakdown, right? It's like, okay, I need to do a Zizaran event, right? So maybe I need to talk with sponsors, I need to choose a schedule, need to make video, need to do marketing, gotta tweet it out, right? Gotta let the people know, gotta hype it up, gotta get feedback, gotta talk to Darky, see if he likes the race, right? Because it is his retirement fund, So there's obviously always a lot of small steps you gotta do, right? So short term and long term, right? So once you break it down in the super small steps, right? Then you just repeat 2 and 3 until victory, or you achieve your goal, right? So, that's like, talking to your editors, making the videos, announcing it, choosing the rules, coordinating with GG, all that stuff. So what I want to talk about is, if you go to the next slide here, I'm going to talk about what's happening behind the scenes. Because remember when I told you guys you are a system, you're a robot, you're an organic robot. So everyone knows what dopamine is, right? This thing that makes you feel good, right? It makes you feel good. It feels great. So this is what happens when you repeat steps 2 and 3. So we're just breaking it down and completing the smaller steps. Your dopamine, it goes up, chat. We're going up. We're going up, dude. The chart with upward trend, that's where we're going, dude. That's where we're going. And the word at the bottom, which I don't even know if I can pronounce, norepinephrine. Norepinephrine. There we go. Norepinephrine. Norepinephrine. There we go. I got it. Norepinephrine. I got it. That's essentially the fancy word for stress. Basically, it lowers your stress. So a little bit of stress is good, but I'm going to talk about the next slide as well. But if you get too much, you will get overwhelmed. So essentially, every time you break down your goals, dopamine up, stress down, which allows you to keep the clock turning, keep pushing ladder, if that's what you want to do, right? And an example of that would be, let's say I'm in like a level 100 race, right? And I've been awake for like 79,000 trillion hours, right? I'm like, man, I'm so tired, dude. I want to sleep for 5 years. So what I'll do is like, okay, I'll just focus on this one map, just this one map, right? Then I complete that map, and then like, I'm in my hideout. What's the next goal? Next goal is just put the map in as fast as possible. The first thing I'm doing, it's like a habit I've built up, right? It's actually like automatic. It's really hard for me to break. If I leave a map, the first thing I want to do is put in another map. It's really bad to play Trade League, by the way, because people are like, yo, man, I whispered you like 7 maps ago. What's going on, dude? Are you still on the same map? You know? So
I have big maps.
Yeah, that was one big map, guys. I was a juiced 17 Delirium Orb map, you know? So yeah, that's an example there. So as I have on this slide here, as Zizaran is showing on the screen, if your goal is too large, right? You did not break it down. This might manifest as anxiety, for example. This is when you start to procrastinate. This is when you start to feel like ladder anxiety, or should I even compete? Should I even try to practice? All those things, right? So you kind of got to break it down. And I don't have a slide for this. I'm just going to say it here and this is going to sound really strange. And so I'm going to talk about ExileCon, the mistake I made when I was training there. I was focused on working hard, but not working smart, if that makes sense. So just think about like, what does that mean, right? So that means I was focused on just getting in a lot of runs every day, right? My goal was to basically automate the whole process, right? So my mindset was, I'm gonna just like do a lot of runs. I'll be able to automate a lot of things, and then I could focus more on like the micro while I'm playing, right?
A quick reference here for how many runs he did. He actually got banned by Path of Exile because he was using a different account to race practice on, and they thought he was a bot because he kept doing Merveil all over again for like 10 hours. He just did like hundreds and hundreds of run of Merveil, so they were like, it's about a bot account. And Havoc's like, bro, I'm practicing for ExileCon here.
I'm trying to practice, dude. Yeah, that's actually a true story. It's happened to other racers as well. It's pretty funny. Havocbot.exe, dude, apparently. So the mistake I made there, I focused too much on volume, too much on repetitions, right? And as I said earlier, the first little bit of practice, like would have gotten me like 50 to 80% of it, right? I was trying to get the last 10 to 20%, but honestly, I probably could have done that differently. I could have maybe done a lot more VOD review. I didn't do enough VOD review. I didn't break things down enough. And because I was just doing it wrong, right? I was not training smart. I was training hard. So ideally, you can train hard and smart, but that is a difficult thing to do. It is a lot easier to just essentially, I'm going to use the term be lazy here and just train smart, right? And I think being lazy is just, it's not a bad thing, right? Because it allows you to be efficient and find the most optimal path with least resistance for the most efficient reward, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So we can leave that there. And then next thing I'm going to talk about is don't get bored. That's the next slide. Just don't get bored. Straight up. Your brain, if you get bored, you're not going to be focused. You're not going to enjoy what you're doing. You're not going to want to continue. So you got to keep it fresh. You got to rotate and change up your habits, Just change it up every once in a while. Maybe you're spamming this Act 5 Katava run all day, dude. Do something different, dude. Maybe play Witch. Maybe play Shadow. Try a Ranger run. You don't even play PoE. Go play a different game. Go outside. Go for a walk. Just do something else, dude. It's really good for your brain. It's good. It's healthy, and yeah. So let's go on. So this is going to talk a little bit more about practice. This next slide here is subconscious versus conscious. My experience from doing a lot of practice is, I believe getting better is like 80% subconscious and 20% conscious. Like for those that a lot of everyone knows about exercise, right? You don't get stronger in the same day, right? When you lift weights or like whatever, right? You're breaking down muscle, and then after you give yourself fuel and rest and recovery, that after a couple days, you get back up stronger, right? And I honestly believe, and my data shows me, that if I spam Act 1, for example, for like all day, like 10 hours or something, or whatever the number is, I'm not going to get better at Act 1 that day. It happens like 2 to 3 days later after, some good nights of sleep. That's what I've noticed. And I have like pretty good data that just says that, at least for me. Yeah. So I honestly believe it's mostly subconscious. So go ahead.
Yeah, 80% of why people are slow is because they're thinking about doing something. You see, like, if you're watching like races and stuff, when you see somebody has to actively think about a decision, it slows them down so much. Whenever you see the racers are automatically doing things, like they know exactly where the gem is, they're just clicking it. That's when they're like really gaining time. on other players, because when you're new, you're going to be like, what do I need here? Let's look it up, etc.
And that's okay if that's your first run, right? It's always good to do routing runs. That was a really good example. I like that. That was good. And if you go to our next slide here, I have a nice paint image, which I made this morning. And it's essentially the idea of you have your subconscious thoughts and your conscious thoughts, right? So your subconscious thoughts, they influence your conscious thoughts and actions. But then your conscious thoughts and actions influence your subconscious thoughts. And just think about that for a moment. So you can kind of change. So you can't really access your subconscious. I mean, maybe some people in chat know some special ways. I don't really know, but there's a lot of stuff happening that you just can't really know about or see about. And the only way to kind of influence it is by, changing what you do during the day, right? So this could just mean like, I do a bunch of practice throughout the day, and then maybe I just keep on doing PoE stuff during my rest time later on, right? Maybe I'm just reading about PoE, maybe I'm looking at the wiki, maybe I'm doing other things, right? So the more I do something, the more it affects my subconscious, and the more ideas I will wake up to the next day regarding the task I'm working on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And you can apply this to anything, right? Like, I don't know, what's something you want to get good at, Sis?
Speaking better and more coherently and clearer without using ums.
Yeah, so just consciously think about that here and there. So, get a little bit better every single day. You can watch videos about it. Just like keep it a part of your life in some way, and some part of your subconscious code will essentially always be working on it, and then try to reapply it when you sleep, so to speak.
Yeah. Also, a quick tip as well. Whenever I do practice runs, I actually got bullied a lot for this, but I would do very, very slow practice runs and never care about my speed, and be very, very
That's a really good point. Yes.
Because I would never really care about my time during practice. I would keep making mental notes like I'm doing this here, I'm doing this here, making sure that I'm doing it correctly being the most important thing for me. And then in the practice run, I've just done it so many times slowly, and my brain just knows exactly what to do. So I never really cared about my practice times. And I remember this was I think it was for one of the last race seasons you ran, where one of the runs was a Vol run. And in the practice runs, I was hitting 34 and 36 minute Vols in my practice runs, and everyone was spamming like Omega lol. This is so slow. And in the actual race, I got either rank 1 or rank 2 with 28 minutes. So,
yeah, that's good. So you showcased a lot of things here. You showcased, you had your goal, you wanted to evolve, and then you broke it down, and then you worked on each of the smaller steps separately, which I think I was going to mention later on too. It's really good. You jumped ahead without even knowing. So as you guys can see, the Zizaran guy is pretty good at gaming, Just remember that. He's pretty good. So, and on that, I want to mention, all of your practice runs, they don't need to be a world record. This is the best run ever 100% perceived exertion, like all that stuff. No, it's fine, right? Let's say you have a really crappy Act 1 in your practice run, right? But you're practicing for Act 2. Just keep going, right? Okay, your Act 1 sucked. Try it. You're in Act 2 now. You're in Southern Forest. Do better now, right? It's the same thing. You're trying to, get to Act 10 Katava. I know you guys want to get better at League Star, right? Get more value in your trade league pushes. Okay, maybe your story mode sucks. That's okay. Maybe work on your Atlas. The new Atlas is coming out. This is a fresh slate for everyone. I 100% believe everyone in this chat can get good at the new Atlas and then just beast it, Yep. You can just beast it, dude. Straight up. Beast. It's a fresh slate. Hell yeah, let's do it. Anyways, let's move on. So I think we've already talked a lot about this. Subconscious, conscious. That means you get the meaningful repetitions and give yourself time to rest, right? Because it doesn't matter how many times you bang your head against the wall. It's only going to do so much. It's very difficult to cram and just consciously get better in the same day. It's a lot more subconscious. So now I'm going to mention neuroplasticity really quick. And so if you're over 25, raise your hand. In chat, I'm just curious, actually. But neuroplasticity, you can kind of think of it as essentially your ability to learn. Yeah, I'm over 25 too, so this is pretty important to me as well. It's kind of like your ability to learn, and kind of how it works is your brain kind of marks stuff to like, okay, this is important. We went over this a lot today. And then when you sleep, I believe, I'm probably butchering the science here, but I believe it transfers from like your short-term memory into more of a long-term memory, right? And this is where deep sleep is really important before and after learning. So, and some of the neuroscientists I've read and watched about, they've said that if you're over 25, you can still have the same neuroplasticity, if not better, than a younger person, right? As long as you have deep intent, like, and deep focus. You just got to be really focused. So this might mean just like, okay, turn off the music, right? Maybe you need to listen to music to start practicing, but turn it off after, right? Close some distractions, like give yourself some time alone. Just like really read or study or focus on whatever you're doing, right? Don't worry, I'll help you with that out after class. It's okay. It's okay. And this is how you can honestly learn anything. And the advantage you have when you're older, for all the boomers out there, myself, I'm 27, I'm basically a boomer, and I'm over 25. You have life experience to build on. You have foundations, you have systems. You already know a lot of things that don't work for you. That's an advantage right there, right? Just don't try those things that don't work for you.
True.
Do things that work for you. So if you're feeling old, don't be. You can be young too. You can still learn just as well as a young person. And if you're a young person, you can kind of honestly do whatever. But if you want to future-proof yourself, then it's probably a good idea to learn how to focus deeply and with intent. Lol, under 30 years old. According to the gamer culture, apparently that's pretty old, but we'll see. It's okay.
Is this the right slide?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can move on. So, another thing I'm going to talk about real quick is a real-time energy change. So everyone has their diaphragm, right? Their tummy, the tummy area, right? And you can try it right now, or maybe try it later if you want. But I'm talking about belly breathing as well, right? Essentially, you want to get hyped. Try to breathe fast. Think about when you're exercising, you're breathing pretty fast. Try to keep your chest up, breathe through diaphragm, breathe fast. If you're trying to calm down, so see your hand is on your chest. Don't put your hand on your chest, on your stomach, where your diaphragm is.
So big.
Yeah, and then if you want to come down, breathe slow. So this is great if you're like meditating, or you want to sleep, or just like whatever. Maybe you just did a really deep practice session, or you want to learn something, right? So,
all right,
that's kind of all I have for now for essentially like foundational Lego blocks, right? And now I know some of you guys are gonna be like, what does this have to do with PoE? I mean, it has to do with anything you want to learn, right? So these are the Lego blocks. Whether you guys want to use them or not, that's up to you. This is how the Lego blocks I use in my, in Havoc616.exe. These are some of the things I use, and I feel like they could be helpful to you. But if they're not, try to find what works for you. Anyways, this is my TLDR of all the guides ever. This is literally how I got good. I found the very fastest guy, and I just copied him. I think at the time that was Crane, like 3 years ago or something. I don't know what he's up to now. I think he plays RuneScape now or something. I literally just copied his runs, dude. But how did I copy it? First, I broke it down. I wrote down his exact level and time in every single zone. Okay, he got exactly 20% XP in Ledge, or like whatever the zone was, right? I wrote down every single zone and exact time. And then just try to copy it, right? Then once you can copy, create your own strategies, innovate, do your own thing, right? Because maybe what this hypothetical best person does, or actual best person does, maybe it's not optimal for you, right? But if you can understand why it works for them, then you can understand what works for you. So yeah, a lot of people are mentioning Darky in chat, right? 'Cause yeah, he's won a lot of races, right? So copy him, dude. Why is Darky doing so well, right? Like, think about it, right? He's playing Path of Exile. Path of Exile, if you break it down, like you think about it, there's not really a lot going on, right? You have a mouse, you have a keyboard, maybe you're playing a console, I don't know. But that's another topic. You're using some skills, you have HP, you have defense, and you have your offense, you have your damage, right? And then you just gotta kill the boss without dying. Just kill the boss, keep your HP above 0.
Yep.
Just kill the boss without dying, forehead. Like literally, that's all you have to do. It's like pretty easy, right? You know what I mean? That's literally all he's doing.
And a lot of people will always blame things like no-lifing and stuff like that, but do remember a lot of the best racers are either like some of them are students, some like Tai, is a full-time student and a full-time job. Sai TV, one of the best racers, full-time job. Like there's so many of the best racers that do have full-time jobs and are still very competitive.
Yeah, because they're very efficient with their time, and they probably have foundational PoE knowledge, right? And what does that even mean in terms of Path of Exile? That's probably just playing the game, right? Knowing what mobs are scary, for example, and just by playing the game. So a lot of things that I've said today, these are kind of like tools for you as a as a system. But in terms of PoE, a lot of the things you'll gain will be just by doing. People can tell you, like, yo, this is scary, that's scary, this is easy. But like until you do it, you won't really get it. So I honestly recommend it. Just play and you will learn over time and just have a growth mindset. That's that's honestly how I feel about it. And we can go on the next slide here. And I feel like this is really important. I highly recommend this. Use data. Straight up. This is a screenshot from my own personal spreadsheet, secret spreadsheet. One of them. And, I track this, right? You guys can see a player column. I don't track this myself. I track myself, my runs, other people's runs, what skills they're using, what senses they're earning. What time did they kill Brutus? What level were they? What time did they kill Act 1? What level were they? How long did Act 1 take? How long did Act 2 take, right? Okay, Act 1 was shitty. Oh, but his Act 1 took 5 extra minutes, but he saved 5 minutes in Act 2 somehow? Whoa, this is interesting. Let's go watch the VOD. Let's make some notes, right? So I highly recommend using data. That's my tip for everyone in chat. That's only because I'm data oriented. Maybe that style does not work for you. Fine works for you. Google Sheets are great. So, Ziz, let's talk about your Maven race, dude.
All right.
Let's do it live, dude.
Do what live?
Do you want to open up a Google spreadsheet?
A Google spreadsheet?
Yeah, or just anything. A notepad, whatever you want.
A notepad. All right. I have a notepad out. I whipped it out.
Awesome. So, I think this is the best way to do it. This is a live example. We'll work with chat. We'll do it together. So, what's the goal? The goal is
100 push-ups. Just kidding.
Okay. I mean, just do one push-up and then try to do one more every day, right? Or just slowly progressive overload, recover, all that jazz, right? But I think we want to talk about Path of Exile long races. I don't know if there's like a long race based on 100 push-ups.
Maven race. Let's do it.
Yeah, Maven race, dude. So, okay, Maven race. What do we know?
Copy Darky?
No. Okay, let's use our own building blocks, right? Darky doesn't know what's going on in the Maven race, unless he's like playing on alpha and then also competing. But that would be unethical, right? And I don't think he's doing that. Okay. You can't do that. That's unethical, chat. Still copy Darky. I see what you're writing, sis. Anyways. So it's a bossing league, so you're gonna need really high single target. Just like write anything relevant. So you need high single target. Like I'm gonna say some stuff I believe, right? So you need high single target. You need good defense. I believe from the announcement it starts with 3 bosses, 4 bosses, 5 bosses, 6, 10, something like that.
3, 4,
so
5,
eventually
6,
you're playing 10. Yeah, 5, 6, 10 at the same time. So that already sounds pretty scary, doesn't it? Right? 10 bosses at the same time. So you need defense. And I'll be honest, the first thing that comes to my mind when you're fighting 10 bosses at the same time is you're gonna need something that you either need like an uber build. Like when I say uber build, I mean like big damage, like softcore trade damage, softcore trade defense, right? Like straight up. Or you need mechanically superior skills, things that just fit, things that do damage while you can move. Things that have high percentage DPS uptime, right? Now I'm not talking like, so you have your PUB DPS, but then your real DPS is like usually a percentage of that because you're not always like standing still right clicking. And if you could, it'll be kind of boring, right? If you just stand still and right click. So, and that's just the 10 boss fight, right? So they haven't said what the Maven fight is exactly, and we don't know. Like we honestly just don't know, right? So I had some ideas in my head. So some of the ideas in my head were Okay, what if
Well,
Maven is like...
They have said
Go
it's a very, very dangerous fight that only the best players will be able to do. So
Yeah,
I think it's pretty safe to assume that it's going to be similar in difficulty to like Uber Elder.
That's what I was thinking too. So I want to talk specifics, right? So I was gonna make up. So this is how I do it. I make up hypothetical scenarios. Hypothetically, it could be just Maven. Scenario 1 is just Maven. You write that down. Scenario 1, Maven. Scenario 2, maybe it's Maven and a bunch of baddies, dude. Maybe you have to kill the Shaper Guardians. That could be a thing. Maybe it's Maven and Minotaur, Phoenix, Hydra, Chimera. That could be a thing, right? How about another scenario? Maybe it is Elder Guardians as well. Maybe it's Elder Guardians with Shaper Guardians. With Shaper. With Elder. That could be one. How about another one? Maybe it's Maven with the serious bosses. What are those guys called again? The Conquerors? Yeah, those guys. Conquerors. So you got some Drox, got your Baron, Veritania, got El Hasmin. You got a lot of guys, right? So I just made up a bunch of random scenarios on the spot. I don't know what the actual boss fight is, right? Like, yeah, someone in chat said Vault Temple bosses. That could be a thing, right? Like, who knows? Maybe it's like Shaper and it just spawns random bosses. Just make up scenarios, chat. This is how you do it. And then, we can write something that's dangerous about each of these combos, right? It's pretty hard to do the just Maven combo because, like, who knows what she does, right? So usually what I do about an unknown boss is literally assume she does everything. She probably does everything. She does elemental, physical, chaos, damage over time, big slams, fast flurry, small hits. She does the matrix. She does everything. Just assume that.
Well, but the only thing we know that it's the same lore shit as Elder. And everything that we know about like everything to do with Elder is it like drains. So
yes.
Wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of like slowing draining mechanic.
Yeah, hey, you write that down, dude. So maybe like things you need to have planned for, right? So, and I'm gonna meta talk here. So what are we doing right now? We're essentially thinking while we have time to think. Because when the event starts, you just want to do. You don't want to spend time thinking. It's the time to execute. So you need to think as much as you can. You need to plan as much as you can now, right? Yeah, it's good. Maybe it's a slam. Yeah, exactly. I really love what you're doing, right? That's really good. Slow draining mechanic. That's great. Theorycraft with friends, Theorycraft your own. So you got a lot of good ideas. So hypothetical bosses, let's say, is Minotaur, Chimera, Phoenix, and Hydra, right? So Minotaur is like what? Physical lightning. Phoenix is like fire damage, but you also need to have fire overcap, I believe, because she will lower your resist. Hydra is cold and physical, if I'm not mistaken. And then... Yep. What's the last one? Chimera is just physical, and then the ads have a lot of essentially physical, fire, and chaos damage, if I recall. Yeah. Yes. So you have a list of things now. So you got to be... I heard of physical a lot of times, right? So it kind of sounds like a lot of physical defense, right? Maybe it's time for some armor, chat. I don't know. It's time to get some armor. Maybe it's time to jug it up, get some endurance charges. But maybe you don't want to play jug. Maybe you don't want armor. So maybe you gotta figure out some creative ways to get physical defense, right? And on that note, my mind then goes to like, okay, if I'm playing 10 bosses at the same time, right? Because I'm a badass gamer, dude. I'm gonna do all the endgame content. There's a pretty high chance a couple of the bosses when you fight 10 at a time are gonna have super high physical damage. So my opinion is this league is gonna be about physical mitigation. Yeah, you have some good notes as well. We have mobs. Can we get fast charges back? GG to nerf Aura Stacker. And this is great. This is how we should brainstorm. No, that's honestly a good note, sis. Like, you should not remove that.
Maybe the best. We don't know if they've nerfed it or not yet.
Yeah, but meming's great, dude. Because you want to have fun while doing it. It's like, yeah, we'll find it on patch note day, right? But like honestly, that Aura Stalker might just be the best strategy. We might just all be farming for like a week or whatever it is to like get the hypothetical like defense and offense ratios, right? Like we don't know. So I like to think about like what in these hypothetical scenarios, what type of damage the bosses do, what mechanics do they do, such as the lower fire res. Seems like overstacking resist is pretty important. Chaos res is pretty important. And then like, how can I do damage in these scenarios, right?
You have to like think, am I gonna practice on standard?
Yeah, exactly, right? How are you gonna practice on standard, right? you know, you're probably just gonna have to like spam trade or something, you know, buy it. I believe it's essentially always been a part of almost every single race. Has it? Right? Has it? I think it has.
Wait, say that again?
Every single Uber kill in hardcore, essentially, in the top players, you know, people are practicing the standard, right?
Dan didn't. Uber Elder was not practiced before. He did a blind run. I was also going to do a blind run.
Well, okay, it wasn't blind though. He watched the VOD though. He watched the VOD.
I think he watched a VOD, yes. But he didn't
Yeah, I remember.
Himself.
Yeah. Yes. One thing I've always noticed, this is kind of a tangent. I've always noticed that a lot of times, I see these standard VODs and I read the comments and people are like, yo, this is impossible. Yo, Sirius is one-shotting him. Yo, it's gonna take 3 months before someone kills Uber Elder. The next day, some guy in hardcore does it, right? And it's just like, it's all about information gain, right? Like we have our hypothetical scenarios, and since you've already gone through all these hypothetical scenarios, once you see a VOD, dude, or just you try it once or something, it's pretty easy after, right?
Yeah. And we don't know how to spawn the fight. Is it RNG? Is
Yeah,
it
exactly.
Systematic? Hopefully it's systematic, or I'm gonna have a breakdown and
Hopefully.
cry.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Imagine if it's like Owl and Delve.
Oh man, that would suck. There's no way to do that though. I imagine it's gonna be like, you know, 369. It's just like what 5, 6, 10 bosses, and then you probably after that just like another question for Maven.
I
Like,
hope
who
so.
knows, right?
I hope
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so just keep on, you know, writing things that come to your head, and then every day you can optimize your thoughts, optimize your plan, right? And eventually, what's gonna happen is you're gonna come up with a couple options here. So maybe your option 1 might be, all right, I gotta play Aura Stalker. So I was Aura Stalker. Maybe option 2 is I gotta play Earth Shatter Champion. I'm gonna do the Alkaiser cosplay, right? Because I got really big single target, but I'm really tanky. I got 9k HP. You know, I have huge physical mitigation. It's really good for a lot of the bosses. And I'll get elemental mitigation via a Legion Jewel. You know, and just keep on writing lists and what scenarios those lists, those bosses are good at. Then, man, is there really anything else to do? Unless you want to keep on going through your examples, I don't think I have too much to talk about here.
No, that's pretty good. It's pretty informative. We can like do some questions from chat if you have time before your blitz starts.
Yeah, totally down.
Any questions, chat?
Oh, I have one thing I want to say. I just forgot. You should, if you are going to compete in the Maven event, I highly recommend trying to become quote-unquote immortal. So what does that mean? And I don't mean like you're invincible, but you are doing content where you can manage the risk. I believe some other, probably Steel Mage, he probably talked about this, risk management, right? You need to manage your risk. So like, try not to die, dude. Like if you don't know if you can do something, then don't do it. Unless you really want it, right? Like you do you, right? But if you're trying to compete for the money, you got to know how to do risk management. It's super important. Anyways, chat questions. I'll let you grab this.